You've probably eaten something strange without knowing it. Maybe it was in a fancy restaurant. Maybe it was labeled something you didn't recognize. Maybe you were in another country and just pointed at the menu. But what if the thing on your plate was an amphibian? Not a fish, not a shrimp, an amphibian. The same category of creature as the slimy thing you used to poke with a stick as a kid, because millions of people eat them every single year. In France, in China, in the American South, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, they eat frogs. And here's the thing that nobody ever stops to ask. Why frogs? Why not toads? They look almost identical. They live in the same ponds, they sit on the same rocks. So why is one of them on your dinner plate? And the other one never. Most people assume it's about taste, or culture, or just some random food taboo that got passed down. But that's not the full story. The real answer goes deep into your biology, into millions of years of evolution, into ancient chemistry your body still runs on today. Stay with this until the end. Because the last part is going to change the way you look at every choice your body makes without asking you first. Let's start with what you think you know. A frog and a toad look almost the same. 4 legs, bulging eyes, that iconic crouch. If you put one next to the other, most people genuinely couldn't tell you which was which. So your brain files them together. Same category, same creature, but your biology has been telling a very different story for a very long time. Here's the first layer. Toads are toxic. Not all of them. Not in the same way. Not equally. But as a rule, toads produce chemical defenses that frogs simply don't. Most toads have what are called parotoid glands. They're the large bumpy pads you see just behind a toad's eyes, sitting on its shoulders like 2 little backpacks. Those glands produce a white, milky substance packed with bufadienolides. These are steroid compounds, and they are dangerous. When a predator bites a toad, those compounds flood into the mouth. They interfere with the heart, they cause intense pain. They can trigger seizures. In some species, they can kill a dog within hours. Your ancestors figured this out, not by reading a biology textbook, by dying, or by watching their dogs die, or by getting violently ill and never touching that creature again. This is one of the oldest feedback loops in human evolution. Eat it, suffer, remember, tell everyone. And over thousands of generations, that lesson got baked so deep into human culture that most people don't even know why they don't eat toads. They just don't. Frogs are different. Most frogs are not toxic. Their skin is moist. Their bodies are lean. Their muscles are long and powerful from all that jumping. And when you cook them, the hind legs taste remarkably like chicken. Mild, clean, slightly sweet. Humans have been eating frogs for a very long time. Archaeological evidence shows frog bones in human cooking sites going back around 10,000 years in Europe. These weren't accidents. People were processing frogs deliberately, removing their legs, discarding the rest, exactly the way people cook them today. But here is where it gets interesting, because not every frog is safe either. There is a family of frogs in Central and South America called poison dart frogs. They are tiny, some are the size of a thumbnail, and they are among the most toxic animals on Earth. A single golden poison dart frog carries enough batrachotoxin on its skin to kill 10 adult humans. And yet, people still haven't lumped frogs into the same mental category as toads. Why? Because the poison dart frog looks nothing like the frogs your ancestors ate. It is brilliantly colored, electric blue, vivid orange, neon yellow. Your brain has a system for this. It's called aposematism, and it's a biological warning label. Bright color means danger. Dull color means safe. Your nervous system learned this rule so early in the history of animals that it's practically hardwired. You don't think about it. You just feel it. The edible frogs your ancestors caught were dull, brown, green, mottled. They blended into mud and leaves. The dangerous ones screamed color. The toad sat in the middle. Dull-colored, easy to confuse with a safe frog. But toxic anyway. And so the rule your ancestors built was not really about frogs and toads, it was about experience, about which specific animals made you sick and which ones fed you. And over time, those specific animals became categories in your brain. Frog equals food, toad equals poison. Keep them separate. Now here's something that might surprise you. This distinction isn't universal. There are places in the world where people do eat toads. In parts of China, certain toad species are consumed after very specific preparation. The toxic skin is removed completely, the internal organs are discarded, the muscle meat itself is not toxic, and people have developed precise knowledge about how to prepare them safely. This is not reckless. This is deep, specific, hard-won knowledge passed down over generations. It's the same kind of knowledge that tells some cultures exactly which parts of a puffer fish are safe and which are fatal. The difference between poison and food is often just preparation and knowledge. And who taught you? But here's the thing about that knowledge. It can't be transferred by accident. A stranger who sees you eating a toad doesn't know whether you're a master of a 1,000-year-old preparation technique or whether you're about to die. They just see toad. Their evolutionary alarm goes off, and they file toad under danger forever. This is how food taboos work. They start with a real biological signal. Someone got sick. Something was toxic. A group of people formed a rule to protect themselves. The rule became a norm. The norm became a tradition. The tradition became invisible. And now, thousands of years later, you would never in your life put a toad in your mouth, and you have absolutely no conscious idea why. Your culture downloaded a survival lesson into you before you were old enough to ask questions. And it works. That's the strange beauty of it. Let's go deeper. France is the country most associated with eating frogs. You've heard the phrase, the nickname, the cliché. But France doesn't just eat any frogs. For most of history, the common edible frog of Europe, Rana esculenta, was the species of choice. Mild, abundant, easily caught in the wetlands and rivers of central France. The French ate frog legs at least as far back as the 12th century. There are records of monks eating them during Lent because someone in power had ruled that frogs, like fish, were cold-blooded and therefore not meat. This was almost certainly a creative reinterpretation of the rules. But it meant frog legs became a Lenten staple. The dish became so embedded in French culture that it survived long after the original religious reason disappeared. Today, France consumes an enormous quantity of frog legs every year. Estimates put it somewhere between 2,000 and 4,000 tons annually. But here is the twist. France no longer gets most of those frogs from France. The wild frog population in Europe collapsed under the pressure of overhunting. Today, the vast majority of frog legs eaten in France come from Indonesia, from Bangladesh, from Vietnam, wild-caught, shipped frozen, across the world, to land on a French plate. The cultural craving survived. The local frog did not. Asia has its own long relationship with frogs. In China, frog consumption dates back thousands of years. The Chinese edible frog, Hoplobiracus rugulosus, is farmed in enormous quantities. It's a standard protein source in many regions, sold in markets, served in restaurants, completely unremarkable. In Vietnam, frogs are split, marinated, grilled, or stir-fried. In Indonesia, they're eaten with chili. In the American South, bullfrog legs have been a traditional food for generations. Fried in batter, served at fish fries, completely normal. Across all of these cultures, one thing holds. The frog they eat is a large, meaty, non-toxic species. And the preparation removes everything except the muscle. The toad is never on the menu. Even in places where people eat things that would make most Westerners deeply uncomfortable. Insects, fermented fish, durian, century eggs. The toad remains off the plate. Because the memory of toxicity doesn't need to be personal. It gets passed down. Now, here is the part that makes this about you. You are running on ancient software right now, today. The food preferences you have, the things that make you gag, the things you find disgusting without being able to explain why. These are not random. They are not just your personality, they are information. Ancient, compressed, inherited information about what has killed people before you. The feeling of disgust is one of your oldest survival tools. Researchers like Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania have studied disgust for decades, and what they've found is remarkable. Disgust isn't random. It clusters around things that carry a real evolutionary risk. Bodily fluids, rotting food, parasites, unfamiliar animals, things that could contaminate you or poison you. Toads land in that category automatically. You don't have to learn it, you feel it, and then your culture reinforces it, and then you never question it. This is how evolution works in the modern world. Not through gene changes that take thousands of generations, but through culture, through the rules and taboos and preferences that get downloaded into you before you even know what you're being taught. You have never sat down and decided what to find disgusting. It was decided for you, by your ancestors, by their experiences, by which ones survived and which ones didn't. And right now, that ancient decision is sitting quietly inside you, shaping what you order at a restaurant, what you pick up at the market, what you would eat if you were truly, desperately hungry, and what you still wouldn't touch even then. You think your food preferences are yours, but they've been yours for a very long time, long before you were born. The frog made it onto the plate because it was safe, because your ancestors tested it with their bodies and passed the answer forward. The toad didn't make it, not because of culture, not because of religion, not because of some arbitrary rule, because something in the deep history of your species learned the hard way and passed that lesson down to you without ever saying a word.